When a potential customer lands in your lead funnel, how do you get them from trying your product or service to buying it? Your startup will not succeed if you don't nail down this key tactic, right? Our guest is a tech startup founder who, prior to launching his business, sold more than $100 million in products for global brands and startups. Oh my gosh, something is on in my background here. I'm going to have to turn that off. So sorry, everybody. Anyway, this is what happens when you go live. I just want to tell everybody you will definitely level up your founder game with this delicious conversation. So let's glow and have some fun and learn. Woohoo! Hello and welcome to the Startup Life Live Show. I'm your host, Ande, Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion to founders around the world. And after raising 4 businesses of my own, I'm talking VC backed as well as angel backed plus charming personality backed. I know what you are crawling through every single day as you stay strong and find the courage and tap into your resiliency and your persistence and your tenacity to stay focused as a founder. And that's why I deeply appreciate the fact that you have carved out time to level up your founder game, because as you do better, your business will do better. So thank you for tuning into the show where I know you're going to grab some incredible gems for your founder journey. A big yoo-hoo to the live viewers who are tuning in today. And a heartfelt thanks to the replay viewers and the podcast listeners. I know you are going to love this conversation today. Our guest is outstanding. I just want to share a few housekeeping details. First of all, if you're tuning in from YouTube and have not done so already, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification and click the like button on the video, because this way we could reach more founders in the world and help have a greater impact on the startup ecosystem. And hop on over to the Startup Life Live meetup group and join us, because this way you'll receive an alert with all the details about the guest, their background, links to their business, etc. So hop on over. You can scan the QR code or tap on that link there. So I have a few Andelicious announcements I want to share with everybody today. That's right, Andelicious announcements. We have so much going on in the startup ecosystem. But first of all, if you have not gone over to Arlen's Academy, please do so. It's free. She has one quickie course after another with experts sharing their best knowledge to help you have a successful launch of your business. And you know how generous Arlen is. You know I love her book. Oh, my peonies. It's about damn time there. So you know how wonderful and generous she is on Twitter and on Instagram. So be sure to follow her everywhere you glow. You have a few days left. If you are a social impact company, there's this great accelerator program with Propeller. Go propeller.org /accelerator, and you will get an opportunity to apply to this accelerator program. It'll be 4 months of amazing mentorship and helping you with your social impact company. So definitely check that out. And you know how much I love Scroobius. If you're preparing a pitch deck and you want to go to the next level, Scroobius will help you create a video pitch deck. Now, let me tell you, you know how important it is to have investors get who you are, right? Because you want aligned investors and you want to be able to share who you are as a founder and why you are uniquely qualified to execute and implement your vision. And this is why investors invest in you, right? It's because of your ability and the team's ability. So hop on over to Scroobius.com and find out more about their video pitching and also how they help you meet more investors. And I'm sharing this lately because a lot of folks are you are newbie founders. You might be ready to raise a seed round. So in the show notes, you will find the link to this phenomenal article by Elizabeth Yen from Hustle Fund, and it's how to raise a seed round. And the Hustle Fund investors are all founders. They were previous founders, so they have a really deep appreciation for who you are and what you're going through as a founder. And then today I have to celebrate this phenomenal man. It's his birthday. It's Shannon Hernandez. He's the one you go to when you want to launch a podcast. He's the podcast therapist, and he helps everybody with their podcast journey. He's also a really well-known, popular DJ at a rock station in Phoenix, Arizona. He is also just one of the best humans I know, and he was the first guest on this show in April of 2020 when I launched. This is my 162nd episode, okay, since launching. So Shannon, happy birthday, Shannon. You are amazing. All right, speaking of amazing, I am ready to introduce you to this phenomenal guest. But before I do, I just want to remind everybody, please take a second to amplify your business. Hop on my YouTube channel. These videos get seen by hundreds, sometimes thousands of people. Why not take an opportunity to amplify your brand, right? Pop in your business name, your one-liner, your URL, and I'll bring it up to here and we'll just clap and cheer you on. And you never know who might be tuning in, okay? And of course, questions are welcome. We've got a really smart founder joining us today. So if you've got a question, pop them in the comment section. Bring them up here. We want to know. We all learn together, and there are no stupid questions for founders. We haven't done this before, okay? If this is your newbie founder, why should you know anything, right? So be sure to ask those questions. And I'm just going to say, hey, I know, Alyssa, I had my YouTube channel open on my other laptop. Nothing like hearing myself in the background. Folks, Alyssa has an amazing business out there in the world, ArcVita. She really helps those executives, those folks looking to have more meaning in their work, transition into a job that is so much more satisfying than what you might be doing right now. So check her out there. Hello, my fabulous fan from Ottawa. Brent, you're the best. Thank you so much for tuning in and for sharing the show on Twitter. I really appreciate you. And Jeanette, hi, Mama. Oh my gosh, phenomenal female founder, everybody. And a mom of 5. Can you even imagine? No, none of us can. And hello, Ruth Muchaba, the Startup Life Live Show's phenomenal community manager. We appreciate you. You're tuning in from Nairobi, Kenya, and making our lives better. And I am so glad you did this, Cindy. Okay, so I just recently met Cindy. She's outside of Toronto, Canada. She has a phenomenal business. Please go check out Linking Ventures because it's all about valuations. And as Cindy is saying here on the screen, navigating early valuations is overwhelming, wrought with bias and more art than science. Linking Ventures is a subscription-based platform that immerses founders into a series of valuations triggered by milestones. Yay, Cindy. This is the best example of how one can amplify their brand. Yay. And it's followed quickly by Alyssa. All right, I get so excited with the founders, you can tell, right? ArcVita is the modern career guidance platform for ambitious U.S. professionals. Our conversation-based professional development process supports people until they make their optimal career move. Okay, Alyssa, just watching you grow, it's amazing. I interviewed Alyssa about, a year and a half ago, right, on the show. I just love following you and everything that you're doing. Okay, time to bring in the guest. Let me just do a quick introduction of this phenomenal founder. That's right. It's Hassan Riggs. He's the founder of Y Combinator startup Smart Alto, a National Association of Realtors, Second Century Ventures reach company that pre-qualifies leads and schedules appointments to help realtors get an ROI on their lead generation program. And between his proven track record for building stronger relationships through digital marketing and branding, plus his experience in launching a tech startup, you're going to be mining the best founder gems from our guest today. Let me bring him into the room, the one and only Hassan Riggs.
I love the hand clap, by the way. Can I see that again? What did you get
let
that?
me
I've never seen that before. That's pretty cool.
Well, we want you to feel like you're in front of a welcoming audience who's just going, Hassan's here, jazz hands. We're
That's funny.
clapping for those who don't have hearing. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you're here. I've learned so much just reading about you and getting ready for this conversation today. Where are you hailing from?
So today I'm in Washington, D.C., right outside of Washington, D.C., in a suburb called Sterling, Virginia. But I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama,
Oh,
and
great.
went to the University of Alabama, actually. Roll
Oh,
Tide.
that's wonderful. I love that you're right down the road. So I know it's blooming in DC right now. You're a couple of weeks ahead of us here in
Yeah,
Boston.
yeah,
And I just found out everybody, Hassan has a 1 year old. Isn't that great? I mean, that
dude,
age is mwah, just
dude.
perfect in every way. And parenting while building a business, it just takes a whole nother level of skill sets,
Yeah,
especially when you're bringing in a newborn for the first time. Yay.
yeah,
And I'm just going to say hi to Cindy real quickly. Thank you, for bringing your wonderful business to the world, Cindy. Seriously, it's so important for founders to know about what you're doing. Hassan, I'm always curious about how folks become an entrepreneur. I mean, you were really rocking it in your career working for others. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a nice steady paycheck,
yeah.
a 401k plan, all those wonderful benefits from working with folks. My question is, first of all, what compelled you to launch your business? But also, what lived experience, or did you have representation in your life? Did you have parents who were
Yeah,
entrepreneurs, or
yeah.
were you hustling product in third grade? Give us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So when I grew up in a house where my mom and dad, they foster intellectual curiosity. And it's one of the things, you brought up. I have a son. His name is Parker, and he's 1 years old. And the thing that I always think about is how can I continue to foster the level of curiosity. I'm really attracted to that intellectually curious people, folks who are always kind of pushing the envelope and trying to figure out kind of what's around the corner. What can I do? How can I learn? How can I grow? How can I evolve? How can I change? And I grew up in a household that really promoted that. So my mom, she's a pharmacist, but every Saturday for years, she would go down to the local flea market and she would sell children's books because she would write children's books, and then I was responsible for printing them and stapling them together and binding them, really. And that's really a job you should not give a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, because I would say the quality was less than stellar. But but it showed me that there is a world of entrepreneurship there. And
Right.
so when I was in high school, I sold Cutco knives and kind of had my own territory of doing that. And then when I got to college, I had a couple of businesses. One of them was a vending machine business where I bought some vending machines and put them in the local YMCA's. And people would come and they would put a quarter in the vending machine, and I was responsible every week or so for going down, driving down to Birmingham and cleaning the vending machines, changing out the candy. And I had a couple of businesses like that. And it allowed me to graduate college with zero debt. And so it was
Hello.
actually pretty cool. So it showed kind of the power of entrepreneurship. But one of the things that I did also when I was in college, I was an inside sales agent. I worked at a real estate brokerage. I was responsible for qualifying new real estate leads, scheduling appointments for real estate agents. And so when you take that intellectual curiosity, you combine it with some of the experiences that I had, and you fast forward a couple of years, I set out to ultimately start Smart Alto. And so it was definitely a long, winding journey, but I've always been entrepreneurial and curious, and so always want to push the envelope forward.
I love that story, Something Fierce, Hassan,
Yeah,
especially the curiosity, because curiosity, folks, really is about problem solving too. So you want to learn and take in information. You're like, wow, well, how does that work? Or why is that? You take that same curiosity to your business. Oh my
yeah,
gosh, that's a big, hairy problem.
yeah,
How do I solve it?
for sure.
And and this is how we stay curious as founders instead of nail biting in the moment, like, oh my God, how am I going to solve that problem? Right. You step out
Mhm.
and you look at it, you go, I'm curious.
Yeah. One of
Such
the
a thing.
one of the things my dad told me when I was young, he said, humans used to be nomads, and they would always ask themselves, how can I get to water? How can I get to water? So they would walk around, they would travel, walking around, getting themselves to water. But then they changed the question and they said, how can I get water to me? When they did that, the world changed because they built irrigation systems and cities. And now the core point of that is, you can change your questions and ultimately change your life. And so it all starts with asking yourself the right questions, because when we've got all the answers that we need. We just don't always have the right questions. And so if you can frame the problem correctly and ask yourself the right question, the team is there to then
Yeah.
ultimately build an elegant solution that helps to solve that problem. And that's all that technology does, is there to ultimately solve a problem. But you got to start with the question. Change your questions, change your life.
Okay, everybody, you know what's happening right here. That definitely belongs on a stitch that on a pillow moment right there. Change your question, change your life. It's really what any person out there helping you succeed in life will remind you of. But Hassan, thank you for reminding us. It is the questions. And I love your father's story. Something, oh my gosh, that was delicious. And you can see, how do we get water? And now how do we get water to me? These are the questions we're asking as founders. Aw, I love that. So there you were having a great track record of moving product, getting products sold, getting services moving. What did that period look like, and how did it prepare you for when you said, okay, I feel a problem that I'm in love with that I want to solve? Talk
Yeah.
a little bit about your professional background and how that prepared you.
So I was always on the commercial side of the business, always in
Mhm.
marketing or sales. And, part of what you understand in marketing and sales is all around problem solving, right? Because you've got a customer in front of you, or you're trying to understand your customer's avatar. What are their needs, wants, and expectations? How do they think about what's happening in their everyday life? And so you very rarely just go to them and say, hey, here's my new shiny solution. You actually start with their needs. What's their objectives? What are their goals? What are they trying to solve for? And then the better you understand that, better you understand the customer, the more you can help them or position you and your solution as the way to get there. And so I had a lot of experience doing that previously. And so before I started Smart Alto, I already knew that the problem I wanted to solve was there, because when I was in college, I was an inside sales agent. And quite literally, people hired me to solve that problem for them, following up with leads, scheduling appointments. Because when the most expensive thing a salesperson can do is talk to an unqualified prospect. And so you want to spend your time talking to people who have the problem that you solve and have the resources to pay for that problem within a timely manner. So I was all about that. That's how I built my professional career. And so when I started Smart Alto, I knew that that was an entry point for me. And so I kind of set off to solve it myself. But I also knew that while I was while I was working, I could start building my company. I didn't have to just stop everything that I was doing and go launch a startup, because there was a time when I was still working at my previous company where I could lay the groundwork for the company that I wanted to build. And so that's what we call calendar time. It's the difference between calendar time and clock time. Robert Fitzpatrick talks about this in his book that's called the mom test. So if you go pick up the mom test, you can read about where he talks about calendar time versus clock time. And calendar time is about when there's long periods of waiting between progress, where maybe you're trying to understand the problem better. There's a portion where you're doing customer interviews, you're talking to people who you think have the problem, you're testing, validating your assumptions. And then clock time is where every hour that you put towards work, you move forward one unit of progress. That's when you are writing code, where you are running marketing experiments. It's when the business has actually launched and you need to be spending most of your waking hours working on that business moving forward. And so I knew I was in calendar time for a while, and I took that time to, while I was getting the salary, right, without all the stress and the headaches of being a full-time founder, to build the foundation of the company.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to be doing this a lot in this episode. I can just tell. Now I'm having Listeners, I'm having an Andelicious moment. Come on. You know what that's like. And when you said the mom calendar, that's so funny because how many times are we sitting in line waiting, in the parent pickup line, all these things that we're doing for our family. It's the time that we can sit there and percolate and think about those ideas, but also you really validate the side hustle,
Yeah,
which is so important, folks. You do not need to just go off and start a job and not know how you're going to eat
for
and keep
sure.
the roof over your head. It's really important that you get things worked out and figured out on the calendar time,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah,
so, is that what happened to you? When did you know it was time to
yeah.
start Smart Alto?
The important thing is you never know when it's the right time. You don't need to know all the answers to all the questions. Ultimately, starting a business is a risk, and um, that's okay. It's okay to be a little afraid. It's okay to understand that it's a risk. But the bigger risk is actually staying in a job that doesn't actually lead you closer to your purpose. And I think as humans, we're awful at evaluating risk. And when you're talking to people, you may be telling them you want to start a company, you want to start a startup, and a lot of folks will try to scare you out of it by telling you about all the risks. But the reality is, it's riskier for you to stay in a job that pays you a nice salary, that doesn't lead you closer to your purpose, that may be draining all the energy, life out of you and putting unnecessary amounts of stress on you, where you could take a risk and yeah, you know what? Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but it is more meaningful. And I think that's what we want to go to. That's what we
That's
want to
right.
aim towards, something that's meaningful in our life.
And I just saw this quote. Thank you, Facebook Memories,
Mm,
that I posted probably 10 years ago. It's a George Burns quote. It said, I'd rather be a failure at something I love than a success at something I hate.
mm,
And
mm.
that's what you just amplified,
Yeah,
right? It's so important, folks. And, I have a great article on Medium, when your loved one isn't an entrepreneur, because sometimes those people are trying to talk you out of it are those that love you
yeah. Mm,
and surround you. And so it's a great article to read because I have conversations and example conversations you can have with loved ones so they understand how important this is for you and who you are as a person. Thank you for
And you
that.
and you bringing up such a great point there, because the reality is no one else needs to validate the problem or the idea that you're deciding to work on besides you and your customers, right? So talking to mom and dad and aunt and uncle, as well meaning as they may be, as great they think your idea is, or as bad as they think your idea is, it doesn't matter. Because they're not going to be your customers. Your customers are the ones who say they've got a problem and you're the one who comes up with the solution. And so talking to them and looking for validation from them is actually the wrong place to go look for it. You don't need their approval to go start a company. You don't need them to like the idea, love the idea, or even understand the idea, but you need to have those things in place before you take the role. And so, I had kind of the foundation set up and
Mhm.
had some people I knew were excited about the problem that I was going out to solve, some customers, and we started to get some traction. And then that's when I felt like it was the time to make the next step, because I was moving from calendar time to clock time, and where you can only go so far working on it part time. If you really want to kind of take it to the next level, you
Yeah.
need more of your working hours towards solving that problem, and you need a team, and you need to make progress. And so once I moved to clock time, I knew it was time to leave my job.
So during calendar time, you created your MVP and you got to test it, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so
Got
now you've come up with this idea, which honestly, I have this question all the time.
it.
How
Sure.
come this wasn't figured out already?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to bring a little brand that I have here, a little uh, visual, research people and properties, multi-channel outreach, measure and optimize, hire inside sales,
Yeah.
this, the world's first and only conversational sales platform for real estate
Yeah.
agents.
Yeah. So the way you can think about that is that, as you said, we're the world's first and only conversational sales platform for real estate agents. And We start by qualifying new inbound leads for agents. So a real estate agent, they're out there marketing themselves on Facebook, Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com. That information comes to us, and we'll qualify that lead. Ask that person a couple of questions. When are you looking to buy? When are you? Um, what's your price range of homes that you're looking for? What area are you looking in? And if that person is qualified, then we'll schedule appointments on that real estate agent's calendar. And we started there because we understand that talking to qualified prospects is the hardest and most important thing a real estate agent can do. It's the hardest and most important thing any sales professional
Right.
can
I was
do,
going to say the
right?
qualified part.
Yeah, it's
So,
the hardest and most important thing they can do. So we started there, and then we began to sync people and property data to let real estate agents know anything there is to know about the homes in the neighborhood and the people who live there. So deed and mortgage, valuation, tax assessor, phone numbers, emails, social profiles, so they can know that who are all the 3 bedroom, 2 baths of people who live in this area, and they can do multi-channel outreach to those people. They can find them on LinkedIn, Facebook, text message, email, and offer their services to these people, measure and optimize how these different channels are working, and then schedule 15-minute phone appointments. And so it's this really comprehensive platform that allows the real estate agent, or really any local service professional, mortgage, roofers, chimney sweeps,
yeah.
solar, to go out and not have to settle for the traditional way of doing marketing and sales, not have to sit down and cold call or dial for dollars every single day, because the reality is people don't answer the phone anymore.
Yeah.
They don't answer the phone nearly as much today as they did 15, 20, 30 years ago.
And
And
plus, I can
so,
screen.
oh wow. They're screening. And my phone, personally, my phone is always on do not disturb. But even if your phone isn't always on do not disturb, you're busy, you're doing stuff. You've got
Right.
a family, you're on Zoom calls, you're hosting lives, right? People are doing things. And so you can reach out to people and they can respond to you on their time. And as long as you have a unique value proposition that you want to share and you're actually solving their problem, then you can take the business to the next level.
Oh my gosh, this is, and you've hit on so many important points for any founder who is bringing a product or service to market. And I just want to share, Cindy's laying down the gems today. She's saying true entrepreneurs don't fail, they simply pivot to accommodate the change in direction. There you go. And sometimes that means launching a new business. That's fine. Cindy also says, for you, Hassan, I would love to introduce you to First Step Financial. They may be a great partnership for
Sure.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cindy.
Yeah.
Make sure you two connect on LinkedIn. This is, another purpose, everybody, for this show, so people can help
Mhm,
amplify the work we're all doing together and support each other, because it definitely takes a village.
mhm.
So you created your MVP and you launched the business. You got some feedback from potential clients, and all, but what happened when you actually launched? How did you find that right distribution channel? How
Yeah.
did you build out your first, customer acquisition strategy
Yeah.
that worked? Because I know then you started to have some incredible wins, but I'm sure in the beginning there were some moments where you were really testing.
For sure. And it was really tough because all the things that you share on that slide, we didn't launch with all of those things. It was a much more watered down bad version of that, right? Much more watered down bad version of that. But as you kind of launch, you start getting feedback, then you start to change and you evolve and you grow and you change more and you evolve some more and you grow. And that's kind of the process that we went on and that ultimately we're still on, because that process never ends.
Right.
And so we started to get our, I think, first 10 customers or so, and we were still kind of in an MVP phase. And then we ultimately went through, as you know, Y Combinator, and we started to grow some more, started to get more traction. But because I'm a commercial guy at heart, right? So I came from a marketing background, a sales
Mhm.
background. And in 2006 and 7, I had side hustles and I was doing direct mail, sending direct mail to people's homes, right? And so I've always understood you start with the customer first, that audience first, the problems that they have. And so when we ultimately started, we start with Facebook ads, and Instagram ads, and we still do that today. Although now the National Association of Realtors has invested in us through its strategic financing arm, Second Century Ventures, and the Reach platform, the Reach program. And so we have different acquisition channels now that we can tap into, but we started with a single channel running Facebook and Instagram ads, getting people to book 30-minute demos with us. And we tried to better understand our numbers. So for every 100 people who came through, what percentage of folks who booked the demo were actually going to show up for the demo? What percentage of those people were going to close?
Right.
And how much money were they going to give us? And so
Right.
now we've kind of got the numbers figured out. For every $350 that we spend on marketing qualified leads, we get one customer who pays us $2,500 for the year. And that's just the beginning, because that's just the business model that we have now. But as we continue to expand and move to different markets,
Right.
you have to continuously understand the numbers and the art of finance, right?
Oh,
It's kind of
absolutely.
understanding that so you
And
can grow.
especially on that ad spend too. I can see the Airtable or the spreadsheet right now. Here's what I'm spending on this ad.
Hmm.
Here's who came, the different steps of the
Sure.
customer journey. They got
Hmm.
this far, they dumped out. Why did they dump out? Jump out. They got this far. Okay, this happened. Okay, we landed this. Why? Why did that
Hmm.
happen? It's that curious mind. Why did they stay? How do we find more people like that? And
Yep.
how do we communicate to folks who want more of that? And that's
Hmm.
how, this is the tactic that you need to nail down, founders, which can be overwhelming sometimes as you try
Yeah.
to figure it out. And I want to invite any of you who are trying to understand what is a customer acquisition cost, what is a lifetime value of a customer, and what does that LTV CAC ratio mean? Please hop onto my YouTube channel under Andelicious Advice and watch this video. I make it really simple. I have equations in there. I hold your hand through the whole thing. We laugh a little and throughout it, but it's so important. So I wanted to throw that out there
Hmm.
um, along the way. So the challenge though still is, how did you know to build this technology? Do you have a tech I mean, you clearly have been on the marketing side, the relationship building side. Did you find a co-founder? Did you outsource the tech?
Yeah, we did a little bit of both,
Okay.
actually. So we started with co-founders. We had a heavy we were heavy on the commercial side of the business, but we did have a technical co-founder who we started with, who helped build the initial versions of the product. And as we grew, we hired contractors to help us further build and develop. And we still work with some of those contractors today, actually, as we grow, because one of the things that we want to do is we always want to stay lean. We never want to hire people in the future, hire people now for revenue that we're hoping to have, right? So it's important to kind of understand your hiring needs and the best way to think through that. But for a long time, we have been cash flow positive, and it's allowed us to stay lean and make some really, really hard, tough, and important decisions.
Yes.
And so we've stayed lean as a team, and over the past 3 years, we've doubled in business, grown 50%, grown
Oh
50%. So
my
we're
gosh.
continuing on a really good growth trajectory. But kind of going back into something you said earlier around kind of understanding the messaging,
Yes.
that process never stops. We're literally, like literally, working on a new version of our homepage to test in the next couple of weeks. That should be launching out. And so we're always testing things.
That's perfect.
Strong beliefs loosely held, right? Let the
Yep.
data, one of our core values is data over opinion. So everyone has an opinion, that's great. But what does the data say? So we can test the idea, and then we can see how our conversion rates change based upon the new landing page that we put up.
That's right. And again, it's that curiosity that you're applying.
Yeah.
I wonder what happens when we do this. I wonder how this language will work. Who will this
Mhm,
attract? Will it reach these
mhm,
people that we want?
mhm.
This curiosity is so important. How many team members do you have now?
We've got 17 now.
Oh my gosh. What did you start with?
We started with 3.
With three.
So the founding team
Oh my
started with
gosh.
3. And so you hire based upon where your risk is. Where's it riskiest in your business? And so that's how you kinda put together some of your hiring plan. So We were strong on the commercial side. We knew that if we had a product, we could go sell it, but we were awful at customer support and customer success early on. Didn't have a background in that. And when you're selling, you're out there, you're trying to share the vision with the customer, how you can solve their problem. Then after you do that, you're moving on to the next person. So we had to hire for customer success early in our business so that we could deliver on the promise, because it's
That's
all
right.
about how do you get customers, right? How do you deliver on your promise, and how do you innovate to win? So those are the value engines that we put in place. And so now when we bring on a new team member, we always ask ourselves, so where do they sit? They sit on kind of the growth side of the business. That's your marketing, sales. Do they sit on the product side of the business, product engineering? So we always kind of think about that, and we have playbooks or and value engines that are there where people can kind of plug and play.
I gotta tell you, I'm really in love with this value engine word play
Mhm.
there. That is so true. And the playbook is really important, everybody. The minute you hire someone on, make sure you've got systems and procedures all worked out for everybody and constantly keep improving that aspect of your business. And so, and how was it during the pandemic? How did you manage everything during that period of time?
Oh, it sucked. It sucked. It sucked really badly at first
Oh, I'm so,
because people were people are afraid of the unknown.
yeah,
And when they don't know what's happening, they contract and they pull back. And it's not just that they pull back, but they're also less hesitant to move forward, right? So it's not that you just don't pick up the 25%, you can lose, the little bit that you had gained. And so
right.
we had to work really quickly. I worked and I renegotiated contracts with all of our vendors, folks from who we were paying, $300 a month to people were paying $10,000 a month. I
Yeah,
renegotiated everything. And that's actually when we said, you know what, we definitely want to be really healthy on the cash flow positive
yeah,
side so that we could control our own destiny. And so some of the same things that are happening now. So when you take a look at the 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 public markets, and people are
sure.
really freaking out around, take a look at the public markets. That's a leading indicator for what's going to happen in the private
Mhm.
sector. So when you take a look at Zillow, for example, which is who we use as the public comp, in the past 12 months, they're trading at 65% below what they were previously, right?
Yeah,
Their valuation multiple is 6x.
yeah,
And so when you take a look at that, and even the deals that are getting announced now,
yeah,
you take a look at the startups who are announcing their financing deals.
sure.
Those were likely priced in Q1. So we don't know what the actual hit to valuations in private companies is going to be for another, quarter or two.
Or two,
Right.
yeah. And the advice I'm hearing from, and what I've heard from investors is that they're, especially this, angel investors, knowing that their founders needed to go out for a multiple million, a good Series A or B round, said, let's put a little more money in, keep you going for another 6 to 12 months so
Hmm.
that you can get through this period of time. So be sure to work with your investors, founders, and find ways to be creative during a time where we're getting hit. I mean, if you know anybody in HR, they're always the ones to know first what's happening. So the HR consultants are always your great barometer check, and they're all going ouch right now.
Hmm.
So how have you funded Smart Alto? From day one, I know you were side hustling. Did you do people, and people throw out this friend and family round like it's supposed to just be a natural occurrence. And, most most people like to say,
Yeah,
"Hey, are you kidding? I need to lend my family and friends money,
yeah,
and they're sleeping on the couch."
yeah.
It's not always family and friends that have the funding. But what worked for you in Smart Alto?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't friends and family. I don't come from that world. That's a story for a different person in a different life, right? So it's not my
Exactly.
world. We raised money. One of the reasons we're headquartered in Birmingham, Alabama, is because the startup ecosystem is very friendly down there.
Yes.
And the people in Birmingham, Alabama is my hometown. I love Birmingham. It's where I wanted to go build a company. It's why we relocated our headquarters to Birmingham. And so we got introduced to startup founders there who already had some. like meaningful exits,
Yeah.
who introduced us to some of their investors, and we were able to put together a round in and around Birmingham. But it wasn't just the financing; it was also some of, the knowledge and the resources and the people we were able to connect with, and the relationships that have come out of Birmingham have helped quite a bit. And I can say that, Smart Alto wouldn't be what it is today without the city of Birmingham. So I got to give a hand clap
Oh,
to Birmingham for that, right?
well, and when you and I were talking during the show in Tech Check, I was going, do you know this person? Do you know that person? You're
Yeah,
like, yeah, I know that. There
yeah,
are so many wonderful
for sure.
founders from the Birmingham startup ecosystem, and you're absolutely right. And what you've hit upon, Hassan, is something that's so important. It's even more important than financial capital founders. It's called social capital. It's who
Mm-hmm.
you know. It's
Mm-hmm.
who you can be introduced to. So if you can share social capital with anyone, and that's what you did, Hassan, in the Birmingham, Alabama, startup ecosystem, you said, hey, we need help. Who do you know? Can you help? Someone else can help. And it can be in the form of advice, mentoring, which is so important, or funding.
Mm-hmm.
So remember that.
People sometimes have the misbelief that asking for help is a sign of weakness, and that that's a sign of giving up. It's actually a sign of strength, because it's showing some humility that you don't know everything, but also it's showing that you're willing to do anything in order to keep your company alive and to learn and grow and evolve. And so that intellectual curiosity is kind of built into asking the question. And you've always got to be bold enough to ask the question, because you could be quite surprised with the answer, maybe.
Yeah, this is true, right? The answer is always no if you don't ask,
Yeah, for
folks.
sure.
So, and
Mhm,
I think it's an important point that you brought up, is that it is a sign of strength, and you need to allow people, you need to be open to receiving, because people feel so good. It's in the endorphins. All the nonprofits will tell you this. People love to give,
mhm.
and they love to help others. So let someone help you along in your journey. So be sure to ask, and talk about why you applied to Y Combinator. What prompted you to do that?
I've been reading Sam Altman's blog posts
Oh,
for so long, and actually, when I went through YC, he was my group partner, so I got a chance to meet him and go to his house and kind of hang out.
no.
It was really cool. It was
Okay,
really
like
cool. Great
listeners and
experience.
everyone, I am going to throw in Sam's Medium. What Hassan's talking about. You have to follow him. You've got to get those delivered into your inbox. They are pure gold.
Yeah. So, what I'm attracted to is very clear thinking, because I know that clear thinking is the foundation for clear communication. And Sam is a very strong communicator, and so I would read his blog post and I would learn a lot, and it helped us make some really hard but important decisions early in the company. So we knew that Y Combinator wasn't going to determine the success or failure of our company.
Yeah.
But one of the things that's important is being around knowledge, advice, people who've been there, done it. They have executional excellence, meaning they've been there, they've done it, they can share some things with you. One of the things I'll say though, and this is important in every aspect of your life, you want to boldly ask the questions and listen to the answers. But it's your job as a founder to understand that it's not as if the person who answers the question has the one and only answer, the magic pill that's going to lead you to success. Your job as a founder is to evaluate the advice that you give, chew up the meat, spit out the bones. And just because someone wrote a book or wrote a blog post doesn't necessarily mean they're an expert. You know your business better than anyone else. And so I don't care whether you're on the coast or whether you're in Birmingham, Alabama, the folks that you're talking to, you can build a great business from anywhere. And they're smart, intelligent, curious people all around you. And so you've got to find those folks and go out and seek the knowledge that you need in order to learn, grow, and evolve. And it all starts there.
Right. And as Hassan said, nobody knows your business like you do. So just because someone comes with a golden nugget, evaluate it and it's fit. So I'm going to just say founder journey advice, outstanding. That's a real gem, seriously, because we can think, well, what do we know?
Hmm.
You know a lot.
Hmm.
You've got your head deep
Yeah,
into your business. You know your
yeah,
customers.
for sure.
And
Theoretically and practically, you're the expert here, right? So you're starting the business because you know the customer problem.
right.
And so now it's just around how do you take all the information and the data that you have in order to build the right solution and get the product to market, you know, profitably and
That's right.
ultimately continue
So
to scale.
talk about the application process. Just give founders a little tip about, okay, you decided this would be a good fit for you. What
Yeah.
did you have to go through? I mean, we had Ahmed El Samadisi on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying, when he kept pitching, and he's
Hmm.
a data scientist with an
Hmm.
incredible team from WeWork, et cetera. So they were loving just his idea, okay?
Hmm.
But they kept saying to him, I have no idea
Yeah.
what you're doing. What
Yeah.
was the process like for you? Did you get accepted right away? Did it take you a few times? And then how did it serve you?
That's the most important thing that you hit on is clarity and thought. Because as the founder and CEO, your most important job is to communicate. The chief communication officer. So you're communicating with your internal team, you're communicating with investors, with media, with podcast hosts, with friends, with family, sharing your vision. And so it doesn't matter how articulate you are if no one understands what the hell you're talking about, right? So you've got to be clear, you've got to be clear more than anything. Clarity over cleverness. It's better to be understood than it is to be clever. And so you have to strip out all the buzzwords, all the fancy things, use words that create pictures in people's mind. And it's better that you state what you're saying as plainly as possible so that a smart older person can understand what you mean, right? As
Or a
opposed
younger person,
or younger person,
or the 13-year-old.
the 13-year-old, anyone, as opposed to being 100% accurate
Yes.
in what you're describing. Because the 100% accurate way that you describe it may be too confusing that the younger person just doesn't know. The
That's
older person just doesn't know. Your peer just isn't familiar with. And so that's why you're always working through the best ways to communicate what it is that you do to different audiences, to different avatars, so we say.
that's right. Mia Voss, thank you for tuning in. I have to tell you, when you listen to the replay, first of all, Hassan's voice, you could listen to him forever, but he has dropped one gem after another. This could easily be like his fifth stitch that on a pillow. Amazing. And Mia, I want you to know that I am prepared now for when you swing by. Look at this. Everybody, if you aren't already subscribing, whether it's on Spotify or iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts, to Mia's show, Shit We Don't Talk About podcast, and if you're not following her at in these locations for Twitter and Instagram, please do. Your life will be benefited. When you're having your calendar time and you're quiet for a while, this is what you want to do to fill your heart and your brain right there with Mia Voss at Mia Voss on the go as well. Goddess,
I love
yes.
that podcast name, by the way.
Oh, but nobody brings it like Mia either. I mean, she's got, like you have your voice, she has hers. You could listen to her all day. She always has these guests like, I've been wanting to talk about that, but right.
Hmm.
So good. But getting back to your point about, why you chose to use Y Combinator to leverage your growth. You
Yeah.
didn't have to go that route. How has it been? What was the accelerator like for you? Was it worth giving up the equity? And how is it as an alum?
Better as an alum than through the program, and the program was fantastic.
Yeah.
But the alumni community is what makes Y Combinator Y Combinator. It's strong. It's you're with founders who are at your stage, two steps ahead of you, one or two steps behind you. And so regardless of where you are on your journey, you can find people to communicate with, to share ideas with, to question and test your assumptions. People who ask really tough questions and ultimately try to get to the facts of the matter, because the story is one thing, but the facts is something totally different. And so it's great to have that level of accountability kind of built in. One of the things that I share all the time, it's important to have thinking time, right? It's important to sit down and just to have time to ultimately think about the business. Well, when you do that thinking and then you go share it with founders in the YC community, folks can have a different perspective. You can share one thing with 10 different founders and get 12 different answers and they can all be great. And so now it's your job to chew up the meat, spit out the bones, and use the community to pressure test what you think
That's
and
right.
ultimately what you believe about even messaging.
It's like cooking up a meal and saying, what do you think? What do you think? Is the salsa too spicy? Is it not
Hmm.
spicy enough? Do I need more tomatoes? Do I need more chopped onions? You know, but
Hmm.
seriously, peer feedback and conversation is key. And these accelerator programs where you're doing the ones that are free that you've applied to and are now a member of, or ones like Y Combinator who come with a lot of branding clout and they have a big lift if you've been in their cohort, you are going to have an experience that you cannot put a value on, a number, a dollar value on. It is going to lift you in so many ways, right, Hassan?
Yeah, it's valuable in any way you want to slice it or cut through it. The real value comes from the way that you use the community because you may be running into a hiring challenge. And so you ask people, how are you hiring for, how is a non-technical founder hiring technical talent, for
Right.
example, right? And so people can share their insights with you. You can have people from the community who will sit on, they may be a technical founder who will sit on an interview with you as you're hiring for technical talent. So those types of resources are available to you, and there's no other community out there like YC.
That's right. 100% worth your time, folks. I'm working with an accelerator program right now, Accelerate Italy, to help Italian companies enter and expand in the US market. It's the same thing. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, and it's worth it to get that and apply to these programs. So definitely take advantage of that. Hassan, what does success for Smart Alto and yourself and your founding team look like? And more importantly, how are you measuring that success? So often people use other folks measuring
Hmm.
tape to measure their success. We have to really go with our
Yeah.
internal success drive, folks. So please share with everybody what success looks like for you.
So even that point that you just hit on is so fantastic because one of the things that I learned at a young age is you cannot allow other people to define what success looks like for you. It's your job to understand what success looks like for you and your company, you and your life. Because although you may have the accolades and you may have the financial wealth or any of these other things that other people put high value on, if that's not what success looks like for you, then that's a really important thing to know because you're not benchmarking your success. You're not competing in life with anyone else. Ultimately, it's around the purpose that you have for your life and how closely are you gearing towards that purpose. And that's the way I think about it. When I think about what I ultimately my meaning for being here, it's around ac- driving every day towards my purpose, having meaning in the world. That's more important than my happiness, for example.
Yeah,
Because I don't wake up every day and think about what are the things that I can do that's going to make me happy today. I actually think about what are the things I can do that's going to lead me towards my greater purpose.
that's
And
right.
with that, I may need to make some decisions that are uncomfortable. I may need to make some decisions that don't necessarily make me happy. I may need to to sacrifice things I don't want to sacrifice. But in order to prioritize purpose, you got to sacrifice something. And that can be some really difficult decisions. And so I put that over and above everything else. And so I'm so happy that you talked about that. And what a, I guess, a great place to end the conversation.
I got to tell you, folks, that's entrepreneurship church right there. Absolutely. And amen on that. Incredible. And this is what you really have to keep asking yourself, founders. I know so much being a founder. That's why I say you always win with entrepreneurship, no matter what happens,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
of these are the things you've got to think about. So, a couple more questions because I love to find out as a leader, as a founder, when you have felt inadequate, what has been the best, mindset hack or action step that you've taken to help shift you out of feeling inadequate and uncertain?
The first thing's to know that you're never going to know everything. And so you need to be in a place where you're comfortable with the unknown and you're comfortable. My mom told me when I was young, she said, being smart isn't always knowing the answer, but it's knowing how to find the answer. And so if you can rest on your intellectual curiosity, knowing that, hey, you know what? There's an opportunity to learn and grow here. One of the things my counselor shares with me all the time is that you're in a classroom. Every situation that you're in a classroom. Your job is to understand, what am I supposed to learn here? And then learn it. Because if you don't, you're going to repeat the same. You're going to be in the same classroom the rest of your life, going through the same problems the rest of your life. And so
Absolutely.
this feeling of inadequacy, it is it's completely misguided, because you should always be in a place to where you are pushing the limits of your knowledge,
Yeah.
pushing the limits of what you know. And that will allow you to rest on this intellectual curiosity. It'll allow you to have the discipline. I'm not going to say motivation, but to have the discipline to consistently go out and pursue objective truth, your personal truth, and kind of complete the story so that you expand your knowledge, and that gives you more social capital with people because you meet new, interesting, eclectic people. It will also show up in your bank account in some meaningful ways.
It's
Yeah.
it's always being comfortable being the student. Okay.
Hmm.
I mean, you may be the teacher or the leader, in your organization, but also being willing to be learning as you're
Yeah.
going. And as I say at the beginning of every show, thank you for carving out time to
Hmm.
tune in and up your founder game. It
Hmm.
is your responsibility as
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
to be doing that for you
Hmm.
and your business, because you are on purpose and you are called to do what you're doing, which means you're compelled to do better every day.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. And so my other question is, Hassan, when did you launch Smart Alto? When did you leave the paycheck behind?
2017.
Okay, 2017. You've been at this for 5 years now. How has entrepreneurship served you both personally and professionally?
Growth. I I optimize in my life for growth and contribution. And I'll tell you, there's no better way to grow than to start your own business. Because you are going to you're going to be up against situations every single day that you don't know the answer to. You're going to have to evolve and change your way of thinking in order to get to the answer. You're going to have to evolve, ask yourself different questions. You're going to have to find the right people around you, or build the right team around you who can hold you accountable. You can't expect something for nothing. So you're going to have to give, and you're going to have to continue to contribute. Learn and contribute, because when you learn and you contribute, that's that learning and that growth, which will ultimately lead to greater fulfillment and greater purpose, not only in your personal but also your professional life. And so if you go to your customers with, hey, I want to learn more about your business, the problems that you have, and you're authentic and you're true and you are honest about what you know and what you don't know, and you don't mince words, but you speak things clearly and with clarity and with boldness, then you ultimately end up in the right place.
Oh my gosh, Hassan, seriously, this has been a phenomenal conversation with you. You have shared one gem after another. Everybody's got their bag up, picking up that diamond, that thing. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me. Any last words before I pop you in the green room and wrap up this delicious conversation?
You're more than worth it. You can do it. You should expect the challenge to be hard.
Yeah.
You should expect it to be risky. That should not shy you away from it. It should embolden you. And if you expect it to be challenging, then when it becomes challenging, you won't quit, because you'll say, here's what I expected. And the same way that you get the great things, the great juice out of an orange when you put it under pressure, likewise, when you put yourself under pressure, you're going to realize who you really are, and that you'll build that resilience that it takes and ultimately to win based upon your benchmark and not someone else's.
Oh my gosh. Hassan, I don't want to let you go. Can we just do another hour? Oh, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you have added value to Founders Journey, for years to come, because these are evergreen. This conversation is evergreen, and people will hear it from down the road, and you will touch lives and have an incredible ripple effect. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to pop you into the green room and wrap up the show. Oh, my gosh, it was just a constant added value from this phenomenal founder. And as I said earlier, thank you so much for carving out the time to tune in, because these are the words of wisdom that will keep you going and keep you inspired to keep moving on, right? So let me tell you who's coming up next on the Startup Life Live show. It's Fab Female Founder Friday with the amazing Jill Johnson. Now, Jill is the co-founder and CEO of the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership, and their mission is to eradicate the systemic barriers that prevent access to the knowledge networks and capital required for entrepreneurial success and wealth. Plus, Jill is also driving this new initiative called Making of Black Angels to drive diversity and inclusion within the investor ecosystem. Wow, we need that. You can see right here, it's Friday, June 10th, at 12 p.m. ET. We're going to have the best conversation ever. Please tune in. And how do you know whenever I post a new show? Right here, Startup Life Live meetup group. Come join me there, and you'll get all the scoop. Jill is amazing. Oh my gosh, what a week on the Startup Life Live show. Until I see you again, I'm wishing you a delicious day everywhere you glow. Thank you so much for tuning in. Mwah, mwah, mwah is coming at you from Boston. Cheers, everyone.